Welcome back to the People Power Lunch Hour Show. I'm your host, Vanessa Maria Graber. On this part of the show, we are welcoming two youth organizers into the studio. They are part of the Youth Leadership Council here in Philadelphia. They're going to be talking about some of the issues that they are discussing at an upcoming Youth Leadership Conference that's happening in the city. Stay tuned. We'll be right back with more from our guests. Welcome back to the People Power Lunch Hour Show. I am joined in the studio with Akayla Brown, who is from Bodine High School, and Sadiyah Griffin, who is from the Engineering and Science High School, and they're both part of the Youth Leadership Council. Welcome to the People Power Lunch Hour Show.
Hey,
Hello.
Thank you for welcoming me, and Sadiyah, of course.
It is very nice to have youth voices on Philly Can. So tell me a little bit about the Youth Leadership Council. What are some of the things that you do?
Well, we eat. I'm trying to tell you, they feed us the greatest food ever. But we could come in and we can voice our opinions with each other and really build relationships and discuss things that are going on. And we also do a lot of things to help build ourselves up.
We're also networking with different people from different careers so we can know their aspects and what they had to do and how they came up in life. We're also talking about different topics that's going on today so we can be aware of it.
Who's part of the Youth Leadership Council? Is it open to students from all over the city?
Yes, you could join because there are a lot of programs, but youth leadership is one of the programs where you kind of get selected for it, but then you can also join for it too. Mm-hmm.
What made you become interested in this kind of program?
I needed something to do after school, and I don't like being in just one program. And then I found a program where it said leader, so automatically jumped to it.
It was an orientation, and I seen how he had everyone standing up to speak and how he was talking about bringing out the inner leader in everybody and how he see potential in different kids. And I know I was a little shy one. So he brought that inner potential out of me, which is why I'm here today speaking to you. I'm actually coming out of my shell, so I thought that would be a good program to go to. And it's a great program.
What are some of the most fun or interesting things that you have experienced through the program?
I honestly, personally think it's inside when we do our personal meetings where we have like a lot of icebreakers, because that's when you really get to test it or have fun with each other. And there's a lot of public speaking. So when we're inside of the meeting, just speaking with each other.
I have to second her on that because it's really fun getting to know all the different kids and what schools they come from. And also Mr. Mike, he drain everything in your head. He's brainwashed you to say, oh, I go to this. And then as soon as you talk, you want to stand up as a leader. He's training you to be a leader. He's telling you what to do. And it's really fun because it's like you're doing the right things and you're also bringing out their inner potential, like I said before.
Mm-hmm. Have you all been inspired by some of the youth leaders that have emerged in the Black Lives Matter movement, the Me Too movement?
We were in the Black Lives Matter movement. Mm-hmm.
Oh, really? And also now this recent movement of the Never Again movement has to do with school shootings. Do you think that there's this now emergence of youth voices and a lot of momentum around now listening to youth?
Yes, because I feel like, especially with the school shooting movement, we were in the school shooting movement, not the Black Lives Matter movement, but I feel like, especially with the school shooting movement, they seen all of these youth just walking out of school, coming out, actually protesting on things that they understood. It made a difference, and it made government want to actually listen to what we have to say now.
And how about for you?
I second her with that again also because it's like we're actually shining now. We actually took the time out of our day to leave school where we're getting our education from to show y'all that this is important to us and we have a voice also.
Well, aside from school shootings, I mean, we live in Philadelphia, right, where there's shootings happening in our neighborhoods. Is that also something that concerns you?
Yes, gun violence is a huge issue for me. I lost an uncle to gun violence last September, and it was the hardest thing for me and my family to go through. And every day I see people out. I go to a school in North Philly, so every day I see friends and people crying because they're losing someone. Some young man just died, and a lot of my friends was really hurt because of it. And there's nothing you can really do because you can't help them grieve. Like you have to sit there and just comfort them. You can't really stop the hurting from going on because that's losing someone that they were close to, and you can't bring them back. So gun violence is a huge issue that we're going through today, and that will be one of the topics at the youth engagement
conference.
Yeah, and I will be doing a workshop on it.
Now, I personally never lost anyone to gun violence, but it is a shame when I'm on Instagram just scrolling down and I see RIP, we lost another one. Why do we have to lose another one, especially to something like gun violence? And for it to it only is talked about when something happens major. So when it's not major, we don't talk about it. And that's why I'm happy that this is one of the topics at the Youth Engagement Conference, because no one really touches on it unless it's something happening in that moment and then just forget about it a couple weeks later. Like, you can't just forget about those lives that were lost to gun violence.
And have you been kind of discussing some of the solutions to some of these problems, especially with the shootings in the school? I know some people are calling for armed teachers or giving people rocks or putting more, what are some of the things that you have talked about?
Well, since it's my topic, I have been thinking of stuff. Like, when you get your gun license, it's not a limit to how many guns you can own. And I don't understand that. You're getting your gun license to protect yourself. If you're buying 4 guns, what do you need that for to protect yourself? You can't shoot with your hands and your feet at the same time. So I feel like we're purchasing different guns multiple times because we have a license and we can do that. And then we're selling them out on the streets to people who doesn't have the license. That's why there's so many guns out here now. And I totally disagree with the arming teachers. There's more guns that's being put out of here. Instead of decreasing the number, you're increasing them by giving it to teachers. And I don't agree with that at all.
For the school shootings, I just feel like we should increase the security, especially the metal detectors. Some schools don't have metal detectors, so how could you really expect to decrease this incident when you're not even having metal detectors? So that's my main solution, really, is just increasing the security around schools.
Do you think that there's a lot of good ideas from your group, in terms of solutions?
Yes, because we're so opinionated, like all of us. And I mean, it gets it's a lot of tension when it comes to who's...
You have a lot of debates.
A lot, because we're really all opinionated and we all have different views of things.
And it's good to hear the different perspectives because you're not looking at it that way. Like, my school has a metal detector, but it shut it down after 10 o'clock. When I come late, I'm just like, I don't have to go to the metal detector. If you're planning on shooting up a school or doing anything, you're not going to come on time. You're not going to do that because that's not when everyone is there. You're going to come late. You're going to do something else. You're not going to come on time. So I feel like the metal detector should be up all day.
Yeah, and like Sadiyah was saying, it really is nice just hearing everybody's opinion, because I know I have my own opinion, but when I can hear my opinion with someone else's opinion, it's like, oh, whoa, they just looked at it a whole different way that I wasn't looking at it. So yeah, although we have those debates and those clashes with each other, it's like, I just got 2 things out of this, 2 or more, because there's a lot of us in a group.
Yeah, and sometimes you change your mind, right? And you kind of evolve with new information.
Not really changing it, but just building on it and progressing.
Exactly, expanding it more.
Cool. So some of the issues that you guys are going to be talking about, gun violence, as you mentioned, the school to prison pipeline, we're talking about sex, substance abuse, human trafficking, parent-youth engagement. We'll be doing some networking. These are really serious topics, some of them.
Yeah.
Yes.
I have unprotected sex, and I was looking up the research for it.
Is that's the topic that you're
that
leading?
I'm on the panel,
Okay.
yeah.
Just want to make sure.
And I was looking at the research for it, and I was seeing that over 50% of teen moms have to drop out of school every year because of unprotected sex. Why is that not being promoted more, that teens should have protected sex or no sex at all? So yeah, it's just like, it's not what can you really do. We can take the time out to continuously promote protected sex, because clearly unprotected sex is leading us nowhere, or that 200,000 people develop HIV every year. And it's just like, if we had protected sex, could that 2,000 continuously decrease?
Exactly, and also 1 in 7 girls in high school has to drop out because they're pregnant. And I feel like a lot of us sex are going on during high school because that's when you start to develop, that's when you want to experience things. So if we have the research for that and everyone knows that, why won't we just start teaching sex ed in middle school? Because once you start teaching it in high school in health classes, you already done it and you didn't be protected, you didn't know what was going on. So teach them at an early age, that way they know what and what not to do.
Yeah, like she was saying, it's 3 out of 10 girls that get pregnant out of like each group. That's 750,000 a year or more. So we really need to focus on this and really expand it. And like she said, it's high school because that's where all the peer pressure comes, and it's just gotta promote it more.
Do you think that it's important that youth lead these workshops so that it's like youth talking to other youth as opposed to like
An adult.
older people telling youth what they need to do?
It's so funny because we were really having that discussion outside earlier.
Yes, most definitely, because it's like, I know every kid has said that, oh, they old. It's not
They
like
don't know what
old
they're talking
in
about.
days,
Or it's
right.
like the older people, they think they can really, they'll say, we've been your age before, we did this before.
But it's
Generations
not the
change.
same.
You
Our
have not-
generation is not the same as the old
You
ones.
don't know what we're talking about. But if you have youth actually speaking to you and we are experienced or dealing with similar things, we're going to relate on a lot more levels than an older person who lived in a whole different generation thinking they know what our generation knows.
I'm not that much older than you, but I didn't grow up with social media, for example. We didn't grow up with cell phones or access to internet. That in itself is like a whole different way of communicating
It
and
really
interacting.
is. That's how you
And
get
so-
all the information. I don't even have to watch the news. Social media, as soon as you go on there, if somebody died, it's right there. Somebody's pregnant, right there. It's like all the gossip, all the news, everything. Social media is taking a toll on everyone.
Do you think that you can use social media to promote some of these things that you're talking about?
Yes,
Yeah.
of course. All you gotta do is just post it. People go repost it, put the hashtags, and it's going to be traveling the whole internet. Everywhere.
And so one of the other things is substance abuse. Why do you think it was important to include that in the discussion?
Because a lot of kids our age are smoking marijuana or skipping school because they got drunk at a party, and that's really not okay. We're not being educated on that either. We're not being educated on how people grow into that, like because of their fathers, their mothers is drug addicts or alcoholics. Nobody knows about that. Nobody knows the statistics. If they know the statistics, they wouldn't have peer pressure. Well, it's peer pressure in there along the way, but without peer pressure, people are still doing it because they see their mom doing it, like, oh, she drinking for the pain, I'm gonna do the same thing. Like, that's not what we should be doing.
I personally feel like it should be talked about, especially by the youth, because like we were saying earlier, if you hear from adult, every adult is going to tell you not to smoke. So when you have a youth coming to you telling you not to smoke and giving you facts about what your life could become if you continue on this path using like substances, it's a whole different ballpoint. So yeah.
It sounds like storytelling from other youth is probably a huge thing. Like, I think you kind of alluded to other youth telling their stories of how it might impact them.
When you hear that one-on-one story, it's like, that happened to you? Are you scared?
Not only that, sometimes it's like, if I go to my friend and tell her, oh yeah, smoking not good for you, she might just be like, you don't know what you're talking about. That's why the education system, you see what's going on in the world, you can improve on it. Like in health class, they don't talk about none of this. They don't talk about how many people die from AIDS, how many people die from
like, yeah, they touch on
substance
it,
abuse.
tell us about unprotected sex and everything, but
Give us condoms.
but they're not really going deep into it. Like, guys, if you do this, this will happen. I feel like in educational wise, they say they're supposed to be preparing us for the future. Well, we're living the future right now, and substance abuse can really lead to our future. So if you're not going to be in school teaching us about these minor problems, they're not minor anymore, but what do you expect people to be, honestly?
So there's a new school board that they appointed. We used to have a school reform commission. Because people organized and, did some activism, they eliminated that. So now there's a new school board. What would you say to the new school board if they were here and they wanted to hear from individuals like yourself who have a lot of strong opinions and ideas about what's necessary in a school? What are some recommendations you might have?
Talk to the youth. the adults, they see it from different point of views. So if you talk to the youth, you know what they're going through, and friends talk to friends. So if they're going through something, you would know too. So you can speak for a friend who doesn't have a voice. So if you talk to the youth, you'll get a lot of information out of them, and that can help make your judgment.
So maybe they could have like these like listening sessions where they just come and listen.
Yes.
Yeah, I was going to say add electives where it's like required that you take this class or elective learning about this stuff, because I was in school today and they said, oh yeah, in order to leave high school, you have to pass physical education. So before you leave high school, you should be educated about all the problems that teens are facing, because you still are a teen about to go out into the big world. So yeah, I would say you need to add those type of electives into the high school course.
And it sounds like we need some more education around health and sex and substance abuse. That
Yeah, like
is
health
something
class is doing a good job, but 1 year of health class isn't really going to
prepare you for
the
life,
whole
right?
4 years of high school and then college life after that and then adulthood. No, you got to keep that going.
And what are some things you'd like to see in the schools that they don't have right now, maybe in your schools? Like like you have to come up with a budget every year, right, and spend money. What should they be spending money on?
I mean, I don't really think you got to spend money to talk about how to be a leader.
Sure.
So we could have that as a class, teaching you how to step out of your comfort zone. Or it's like a class where public speaking is something that you mainly have to work on. They don't have those. So if a kid has a profession where they want to be a public speaker but just doesn't know how to, and they go to school but the school isn't teaching it, what can they really do? That's why I really value programs like youth leadership, because although I have to go out of my school time and go out of my way to make sure I'm here, making sure I'm here is ensuring that I know what I'm going to be doing in the future and I'm going to be able to talk to somebody comfortably.
And what about for you? Is there anything at your high school you think it needs and other high schools?
I think my high school, it touched on a lot of things, because once you build relationships with different teachers, you learn about different things. So I would say, like, we have different assemblies. I feel like they should have guest speakers talking about different things, because the STD guy, they come every year and talk about STDs. But what about different things like how to start your own career, how to be a lawyer, how to be different things? You need to be talking about different career paths. I know I go to engineering and science, but it's a lot of people who sell stuff at my school because they want to be an entrepreneur. So I feel like they shouldn't have to go out their way spending their money on buying cookies and stuff to see how a business is going and start their own business off of social media, basically. You should know how to do that from scratch so you can have a head start when you go to the real world, because they say that high school is supposed to prepare you for college. If you're going to that school, how are you going to be prepared for college if they're not talking to you about that type of things?
Yeah, and I'm with Sadiyah. Like, I go to Bodine. We touch on international affairs, so we do focus on things going on all around the world, but we need to focus on things that are going on in people's lives, too. So just those extra curriculums or programs that kids could take throughout the day, not having to come after school, would be great.
Yes.
So here at PhillyCam, we have a youth media program. Youth are making videos and radio programs. Do you think we need more of that in the media, like more shows and voices where it's like youth talking to other youth?
Yes, because honestly, I could hear an adult talk all day and I'll be like, I'll walk away with something, but when I hear a youth speak on it, I walk away with a lot more, considering that we're the same age, and I know if you're saying it, not like I know if you're saying it, it's true, but it kind of is a little bit more true than rather when an adult says it.
Also, when youth say it, it's like, it's coming from a whole different world. Like, it's like,
Exactly, like,
oh yeah, we connect on a different level. Like, we connect on a childish way, not as an adult relationship. So you see, adults see more in life, so they add in stuff from old times and then stuff from this time.
like we really are seeing it on two different levels. Like, they're all the way up
Yes.
here and we're still right here trying to get up there, but we're not up there yet. So when you're explaining to me this and that, but a youth explaining to me this and that, I'm clearly going to connect with the youth a lot more.
But it's also about representation, right? Like, you're out here, you're part of the world, right?
Yeah.
There's a lot of youth in Philly.
Yeah, we're speaking for the youth. You can't have an adult really speak for the youth. It would be better if the youth are speaking for the youth.
Just like you are right now.
Right,
Yes.
hop up.
You gotta join different clubs. Like we just said, some of our school don't teach us different stuff. I'm in girls track, Yo ACAP, and Leadership. Your ACAP is helping me with job readiness. They give us a summer job, and I feel like that's really important. We need to be knowing what we need to do to get these jobs out here, because if you can't get a job, how are you supposed to provide for yourself when you get to the bigger world? In Girls Track, they teach you all about the qualities of being a girl, the characteristics that you should have as a female, and I feel like that's really important. Because you can't be talking girls talk about what guys or nothing. So that's a group where you could actually select yourself, and with different and with different girls, you could just talk about things that you will feel uncomfortable talking about with different guys. So that's a really good program too.
Do you follow like YouTube channel? Like, where can you find youth voices? Does that live on Instagram?
Yeah.
That's
Snapchat.
Everywhere. But back to what Sadiyah was saying about these programs that we're all in, because we're in like the same programs, Yo ACAP, Youth Leadership, Girls Track, and then I have my own nonprofit organization. It's called Doubles for Days. And being with these programs, they really did open up networking sites where I was able to meet with adults and they're seeing my vision too. So it was just really coming in handy.
That's amazing. What does your nonprofit do?
Oh, it's called Doubles for Days Incorporated. So what we do is we target youth and families in different communities, just going and giving back, basically.
That's awesome. So what are some of your career aspirations? Y'all ready to take over the world?
Entrepreneur and lawyer.
I want to be an airplane engineer, and I want to do something with film. I'm not sure yet, but I take digital editing, and I really have a passion for that. So I'm going to broad off into that too.
And what type of law would you like to go into?
I honestly don't know, but I know I love debate, and I know I love my nonprofit organization, so that's the road I'm going down. I'll figure out what type of lawyer I want to be later, but I know that I love debating. So.
And I knew that I love robotics, so I'm just like, when I went to engineering and science, I'm like, oh, they got all these different engineer things. I don't know what I want to do. But I also want to travel, and with me, my goal is I'm not getting on a plane to travel until I'm the reason that that plane is flying. So if I'm not making that plane move, I'm not getting on it. And if I'm not getting on it, that means I can't travel like I want to do. So I know I'm going to do what I want to do. So that's like my career goal. Every time I get up and I don't want to go to school, I just be like, no, I got to make that plane fly.
I got to make that plane fly.
Right. What inspires you or keeps you going? Because you two have a lot of energy. You seem very passionate and motivated. Where does that come from?
My mommy.
My mom and my sister. I just be talking to them like my grandma also. She's a good air.
Like my family is all supportive, but my mom is the one that really goes hard and makes sure that everything I want, I see.
Yeah, I feel like
and,
it's what
pushes me. Yeah,
it's your support system definitely. Like I see my mom do. My mom works a lot of jobs taking care of the family, and I'm just like, she never stopping when she give up. When she's tired, she still go to work and do what she got to do. So I'm going to be tired and go to class and do what I got to do.
Like, is it okay if I give a little personal shout out?
Yeah, go ahead.
Yeah, Mom, I know you're going to watch this as soon as I get home and tell you, and I just want to say thank you. And I love you so much because everything I say I need or I want, you make sure I have it. And you push me to be so much better, so love you.
I'm going to say thank you to my mom, too.
Right, love you, Mom, love you, Dad.
We're going to rerun this on Mother's Day. No, but that leads me to the next thing. It's like parent-youth engagement. So that's, you know, the importance of relationship building and having parents also become part of the school programs. Why is that important?
Because not saying without a support system you can't do it, but it's easier with the support.
So much better.
It does, and it's like she said, better. It's amazing when you have a great support system on your team. Because without it, it's like you're by yourself and you got to see your visions by yourself, and then you got to get other people to see your vision, and then you got to work your own way up. But when you have a support system, it's like you could work your way up with people holding you and helping you get up there.
Exactly, and it's not like you're in it by yourself. You
Not
know
at
you
all.
got somebody behind you, and when it's your parents, that make it so much better because they're with you 24/7. They watch you grow. They know what's best for you because you're their child. So.
Like a support system is everything. And that's not to keep bringing up my organization, but that's why we target families too, because we say that we would target youth and kids, but you can't target youth and kids only when you're going into a household when your parents are shaming you, so that's why we target all.
And also, parents have a lot of influence over the policies that are happening at these schools. So some of the things that maybe the school board proposes, parents getting actively involved can really help support your concerns and the things that you are for or against.
Yes, because they know what's best for their children. Like, if they know they're not getting the education they're supposed to, I'm pretty sure every parent will go up to the school board and let them know. So, them bringing parents involving a different, involving a different branch for the parents. So, yeah, I really think that's important. So, just as important as talking to the youth, because the youth, they can tell you what they want, but the parents, they can tell you why they want it.
Exactly.
Like, why.
Not really why, because you could tell you what and why they want it, and we can only go so far. So when you have that support system, they just push you up a little bit more to continue and allow you to go farther. Because, yeah, we're speaking for the youth, and we're here to say the youth, we're everything, and we really have a big voice. Yes, our generation is amazing, honestly.
Why is your generation amazing? Why are you going to change the world? Why are we different?
Honestly are different. I mean, you look at the other generations and you guys are okay. But this generation is really something different because you can really become amazing through social media. Back then, you had to really work from the roots, but now you could just be something from posting something. It's everyone, and then you can just work your way up. And that's because of technology. So technology just happened to fall in our generation.
Yeah,
so we got those
only
props.
that, we got these stereotypes that everybody our age is either smoking weed, selling drugs,
I
being
feel like
pregnant.
these stereotypes really fell on this generation. So when you have youth
like us
overcoming those stereotypes,
it's like y'all really did something for your
really
generation. Like when you have children, youth, kids, anybody, because I know a lot of people who are young trying to start their business. Like if you have these youth breaking out of these stereotypes is really important, and it's showing you that this generation is not all of that. It's not just people going around getting pregnant or selling drugs. It's not none of that.
Like we're not just thugs that are going to end up in jail because teachers, well, not teachers, but the system is so messed up that we're technically subjected to be put in there. No, we're the youth that is going to overcome that. We're going to be great.
We're going to prove y'all wrong. Like we can
Right.
actually
She's going
do
to be
this.
making my plans. I'm going to be a lawyer, and I'm going to be helping families and youth.
She's going to be traveling like, yeah, Sadiyah did this.
Yes.
I love it. I love your energy and everything that you're doing. There's actually a lot of youth like you. So it's nice to have a platform like Philly Cam where we can feature y'all and show people that youth are really active in Philly and they're really doing big things.
Hey, has Philly Cam ever had this thing, like an event where you call in all the teens that you know are like that and have a big thing?
Networking.
Yeah, networking.
Let's
a
do
lot
it.
of that.
Yeah, that'd be great. Like,
I could not find my words, but I knew what I was talking about. Thank you.
yeah,
Networking.
like for the youth engagement conference, we can give y'all the flyers and we can let y'all know how to do the registration, and we can y'all can pick individuals that would be interested in it.
And not even individuals, it's open to all because we are targeting the youth and we really want them to come out and be able to hear the struggles that we're all facing together. Like it's not just you, but it's all of us, and we're going to overcome it now.
Exactly.
Have some solidarity, right?
Yeah, there's a lot of youth like us that's coming out and speaking, but there's a lot of youth that's shy like I was before and don't have a voice. But
Or
we're
it's a lot
here
of
to
youth
help
that feel
them
like they
find
don't
it.
have a voice. Yeah, like we're
Exactly.
really we're gonna pull you out. We're gonna break you out a little bit at this
You
conference.
could come
like,
on stage with us
come on.
next year and tell them like what you can do. You have a voice also, and it's not just the adults that can speak on it. That's why
Exactly,
that's
like-
really important. The youth is running this. Like, it's us, your
It's
peers.
us.
We
Be
can
that leader
talk
they
to
said
you.
that they didn't think that you could be. We're going to be that leader that they don't think that we can be. We're just going to keep coming up.
So let's give people all the information for the conference so that they can participate. It's going to be happening on April 21st, 2018. It's the 7th Annual Youth Engagement Conference from 8:30 a.m. to 3:30 p.m. There's going to be workshops and speeches and performances and all types of networking opportunities. And there's going to be food.
Yeah, I'll be there.
Yes, we both gonna be here. We both have
there's gonna be a
different
lot of other people,
workshops.
too.
DJ Greg Nitty gonna be there. You know he tough, so get lit.
And so it's going to be happening at Temple Learning Center, which is located at 2450 West Hunting Park Avenue. And if you want to contact anybody, register for a workshop, or sponsor a table, you can email PYLC youth.17@gmail.com.
Yeah, and I honestly urge you guys to come out because it's going to be mind-blowing.
And we're going to be talking about stuff that the media doesn't talk about. Like, I'm pretty sure a lot of people don't know that this year, so far, it's been 853 youth from the ages of 0 to 17 that was killed. We're only in the 4th month of 2018. It's sad, honestly, and the media don't talk about everything. You have to do your own research. So if you want to be educated on different stuff by the youth, you should really come.
Mm-hmm. And have fun, and you get food. So
and it's
get to meet
giveaways,
you too, right?
Yes, entertainment and everything. It's really
Okay,
fun.
so I'm going to tell our listeners out there they can come meet Sadiyah Griffin, who is 16 in the Engineering and Science High School, and Akayla Brown, who is 15, goes to Bodine High School. If you don't know anybody there, they will come and they'll welcome you.
I'm very outgoing, so don't even be shy. I love hugs too, so you could just come and say hi. Like, oh, hey.
Yeah, and I'm talkative, so we
I
could
would
be
talk to
talking
you
all
though.
day. Like, you don't got to talk, I'm going to talk for you. Come on.
And make sure that you talk too. Like,
Right.
it's not just going to be me.
We going to be walking around like, oh, yeah, did you meet her? She's, just going to
Did
be
you meet
introducing.
her? Okay.
Well, y'all are definitely going to have to come back and keep us
course.
updated with everything that you're doing. I want to thank you for coming on the People Power Lunch Hour and for representing the youth,
Don't
doing
take
all the
nothing.
work that you do. Y'all have Instagrams out there?
Oh,
People
yeah.
can follow you?
You can follow me on Instagram at Dimple0978, or you can follow my nonprofit organization Instagram at Dimples with 2 Z's for days. 2 Z's, yes.
And how
And
about you?
Sadiyah, Sahara, SADIYAH, _ Sahara, SYHARAH. It's complicated, I know.
All right, thanks for listening and watching the People Power Lunch Hour show. I'm your host, Vanessa Maria Graber. I've been talking with Sadiyah Griffin and Akayla Brown. They're both with the Youth Leadership Council here in Philadelphia, and they invite you to attend the 7th Annual Youth Engagement Conference happening Saturday, April 21st, from 8:30 to 3:30 p.m. at Temple Learning Center. Thanks so much. We'll be right back. Hey, welcome back to the second part of the People Power Lunch Hour show. I'm your host, Vanessa Maria Graber. On the second half hour of our show, we have with us special guest, Paul Glover. He is with the Green Party, and he is running for governor of Pennsylvania. We're going to talk with him and discuss some of his platform issues, his ideas, and also third parties here in Philadelphia. PhillyCam is broadcasting the People Power Lunch Hour on WPPM 106.5 FM and also on PhillyCam TV on Comcast and Verizon. So to get into our interview, I'd like to introduce Paul Glover. You are an activist, an organizer, community leader, a writer, and now you are running for governor again.
Yes, indeed. 4 years ago, the Green Party asked me to be their candidate for governor of Pennsylvania, and they came around again. And that's because I've started some 18 organizations and campaigns that model ecology and justice, particularly in urban settings. And I've written half a dozen books on grassroots power and taught at Temple University and Philadelphia University, metropolitan ecology and ecological economics. So I am enthusiastic about the power of people to initiate change, and as governor of Pennsylvania would open the door to exactly these kinds of initiatives, which I find so thrilling. Here in Philadelphia, there are thousands of great organizations, as several years ago, I published Green Jobs Philly News about the greening of the Philadelphia economy. So to raise that kind of creativity and initiative to the level of state government and the policy of state government, to create green jobs that rebuild our civilization, both urban and rural, toward balance with nature, is why I have agreed to run for governor of Pennsylvania, to create, I believe, 500,000 green-collar jobs to reduce our dependence on fossil fuels toward near zero, and replace that with a process by which people are employed in a variety of green jobs that clean our water, our air, our soil. That's urban agriculture, regional agriculture, the arts, solar, rail, tiny houses, or affordable housing in general. To me, these kinds of initiatives are an alternative to mass incarceration. We can decide whether we will prefer mass employment or mass incarceration. And I've proven to myself over many decades, and to quite a number of other people, that it is possible to invent the future we prefer. There are blockades at the state and national level because both the Democrat and Republican parties have drifted into a corporate embrace, as I see it. Republicans will often kick you over the cliff. Democrats often will escort you politely over the edge. And the Greens dynamically and decisively create solutions to our most profound problems. Again, both urban and rural. There's an urban and rural divide. You know, in the cities we refer to gun-crazy Pennsylvania racists. And in the city and in the rural areas, people often refer to Philadelphia and Pittsburgh as being welfare loafers, violent welfare loafers, for which they need guns. And these stereotypes are not practical, and they're not so. There are people of all kinds all over the state. We are magnificent, and we are ignorant. And the changes, the solutions surround us. We're capable of making a state and modeling in our state a whole nation which moves beyond scarcity toward abundance. And an abundance which is in balance with nature, which restores and revives the environment upon which we all depend. Even businesses ultimately depend. Even the rich depend ultimately on a good environment. Otherwise, they're kings of the trash heap.
Indeed. So I want to talk a little bit about the Green Party, because you are representing the Green Party. It is a third party, an alternative to voting Democrat or Republican. For our listeners and viewers out there who may be not so familiar with the Green Party, tell us a little bit about it and how you became involved with the Green Party.
Been involved with the Green Party for about 30 years. I started the Green Party of Los Angeles, the Green Party of Ithaca, New York. Have been very involved in the Green Party of Pennsylvania and Philadelphia. And as I see, we are the only party which does not accept corporate donations. That gives us the latitude, in fact, to advocate for what average people need urgently, whether middle class or poor or even the rich. We are a party which does not negotiate with lobbyists. We advocate directly with and for people in general, the most urgent needs. We see things directly. I think we are centrists. That is to say, when conservatives don't conserve and liberals don't liberate, Greens become centrists because we directly address the central needs of average people. Everybody needs secure housing, steady work, good access to good health care, and enough money with which to invest in their homesteads and their communities. So I have made over the many years a variety of proposals by which these things could happen. Again, I've started 18 organizations and campaigns that model the practicality of such proposals. And these have become, some of them, a national movement or even a global movement. One of the 6 books that I've written is Green Jobs Philly, which proposes very specifically how we could create 100,000 green jobs in Pennsylvania. We could fully employ the next 3 generations in rebuilding our cities, our suburbs, and our farms in such a way that we need least fossil fuel, in a way that reduces our taxes, reduces our utility bills, certainly reduces the costs of education, and makes education relevant to this kind of future.
So let's get into your platform a little bit, because you are proposing a lot of really interesting things, and I want to get to all of them. Let's first talk about the people's budget.
Participatory budgeting is something which is a national movement, and as governor, certainly I would have budget priorities, and I would push for these on behalf of the grassroots movements. But ultimately, participatory budgeting, inviting people in their cities and towns, suburbs, from the most urban to the most rural areas, to define for them what priorities the state budget should embrace.
Has anywhere else done this successfully? Are there any models for participatory budgeting?
The usual places like Berkeley and Cambridge, Massachusetts are outstanding in that. There are several others, but you may be familiar with certain kinds of public events where people are invited to put their pennies into a dish if they prefer this or that use of public money.
Let's talk about full employment of construction workers. You want to put construction workers, back to work. Many of them sitting on the bench.
Oh well, of course. I mean, this is the blue collar group who depend on making things, building things. We have a lot of things to build in our state, a lot of things to unbuild in our state. Again, solar and wind, super insulation, that is to say, reducing by as much as 80% the amount of fuel which is needed in order to warm and cool any given building, particularly residential. Various of our commercial buildings in Pennsylvania have installed solar or connected to solar and wind energy indirectly. We have an immense capacity to make a transition beyond our dependence on coal, gas, natural gas, fracking. In fact, we are the only political party which intends to ban fracking. When you start to ban things which are normal, people get upset because they might lose their job. If they lose their job, they might lose their house. We have to address banking. We have to address the money system as well. One of the initiatives that I undertook many years ago was a community currency. I designed paper money. Designed paper money for Ithaca, New York. Pretty colorful money with pictures of children, waterfalls, and trolley cars. Convinced several thousand individuals and 500 businesses that it was real money. We traded millions of dollars of this money over a number of years and made loans without charging interest. Magnifying that kind of grassroots initiative toward the level of the entire state to shift control of money. We need, among other things, a state bank, which is dedicated to investing, to recycling taxpayer money into exactly the kinds of job creation that I have talked about. In the construction and reconstruction, we've done a lot of damage to our environment. We need to rebuild our soils. We need to rebuild. I want to tell you, there's a lot of talk about STEM jobs. We need also to talk about lowercase STEM jobs. In Philadelphia, we have a 40% high school dropout rate. These folks are not going to get STEM jobs directly. We need to talk about lowercase STEM jobs. We have 40,000 vacant lots in Philadelphia. I started the Philadelphia Orchard Project, POP, which now has 59 orchards throughout the city, in lower income neighborhoods particularly.
Yeah, that's one of the other things you're proposing, urban orchards and greenhouses.
Definitely. In the 40,000 vacant lots as a priority, currently, those lots are remaining vacant until gentrification reaches them.
And then they'll be sold to the highest bidder.
Sold to the highest bidder. But the highest and best use of those vacant lots, I believe, particularly in low-income neighborhoods, is for greenhousing, which generates food all year long.
Can you talk about your proposal for progressive taxation?
Definitely. This is not an unusual concept, but within our state, of course, there's a tilt. The wealthy are encouraged and enabled and rewarded for being wealthy, and their wealth often leaves the state for investment. The model of success in our whole country is bigger numbers in a bank account. And people believe that that provides them with secure access to more fun and more security. But often that fun and that security comes at the expense of a healthy planet. And their children and their grandchildren need a healthy planet. So I think progressive taxation, and even in fact, capitalists like Warren Buffett have said, and there is an organization of such capitalists, say, well, wait a minute, we've got enough stuff, and unless we reinvest our wealth into a healthy society, as I've said before, we're just kings of the trash heap. So progressive taxation offers an opportunity, and a requirement, of course, to wealthy people to reinvest back into their state so that their state provides jobs. I mean, it saves them money ultimately because it costs less to send young people to school and to employ them rebuilding the health of our air, water, and soil than to send them to jail, which is very costly. And Philadelphia is the world capital of incarceration. That is to say, our city has the highest rate of incarceration of any large city in the United States. The United States has the highest rate of incarceration in the entire world.
25% of the world's prison population.
Exactly. And so we are the world capital of incarceration.
Well, Pennsylvania also has the most incarcerated youth.
Right. And this is a huge industry in our state and, of course, around the country. A huge industry. It's like a spiral downward. It's a dead end. It's a failure of imagination about creating a beautiful future. We can invent the world we want. And again, the grassroots initiatives in this city, in this state, around this country, and around this world, people building wonderful examples and proofs of better ways to employ people, to house people, to heal people. Our city is full of beautiful children. They deserve a city as beautiful as they are. I think artists should run our city. I want to say that in terms of health care, this is urban and rural, Republican, Democrat. It's a big issue, and it's not being dealt with.
You're proposing Medicare for all?
SB 1688 is the state legislation being proposed. Now, for over 100 years, Medicare for All or universal health coverage has been advocated, but it has consisted of conferences and panel discussions. It has no traction. So I'm undertaking to establish Philadelphia, a health cooperative, like the one I did in Ithaca, New York. Members paid $100 a year, and gradually we had them covered for 12 categories of common emergency anywhere in the world. Then we started on palliative care, and then we started our own free clinic. We had members in 42 states, including residents of Philadelphia. The state came at us and challenged us, and we fought them successfully. In Pennsylvania, when I began this a few years ago, the state challenged us. Now, despite the challenge and the evident illegality according to current standards, we're starting Philadelphia. And that's how, of course, society has progressed when people have broken the law to end slavery, votes for women, the 8-hour workday, Social Security, civil rights. All of this progress has been undertaken at the grassroots level in violation of current law. So Philadelphia in Pennsylvania is intending to assert that average people can pool small amounts of money to manage one another's health costs and to create our own self-managed free clinics or health infrastructure. This then magnifies throughout the state. And this is how Canada got its own national health plan. A farm town of 15,000 in Saskatchewan started its own health co-op. It was so successful that within a few years, all of Saskatchewan started its own health plan. And with 10 years after that, by 1972, all of Canada had its own health plan.
Well, Vermont in the U.S. has universal health care, so.
It does. This is self-financing. That is, it cuts HMOs out of the deal, which of course would make our skyscrapers shiver. They're full of bureaucracies that make it difficult, in many cases, increasingly, to get prompt payment for health needs.
So I want to talk about a couple other things before we end. One is, speaking of jobs and healthcare, mass incarceration, you would like to legalize the sale of cannabis for all uses.
I think that it should be legal for all uses. I mean, everything in moderation. I don't advocate everybody being stoned all the time. We have a stressful society, and when choosing between alcohol, tobacco, marijuana wins in terms of the least crime and least death.
No deaths.
No death, as a matter of fact. There have not been recorded cases of people stoned, killing, or dying because of it.
And no overdoses.
So I'll be speaking at the Cannabis Festival, in fact, this weekend. I want to emphasize that to get on the ballot, the Green Party candidates for governor and senator need 5,000 valid signatures. We sued the state of Pennsylvania 4 years ago because ballot access was impossible for us, and we won in federal court, and so now the playing field is much more level. With 5,000 signatures on a nominating petition, we can be on the ballot, and people can obtain these petitions on which to gather signatures on our behalf from greenwavepa.org, my personal webpage, and I'd be happy to have a conversation with any voter or potential voter in Pennsylvania. paulglover.org, Paul like Paul, not St. Paul, but Paul, and Glover like Danny Glover. .org, paulglover.org. Be very happy to continue conversation with anybody.
So one of the questions third-party candidates often get is, what's the likelihood of winning, and doesn't that take votes away from the other potential candidates? What do you say to that?
Intending to take as many votes from Republicans as Democrats and a whole lot of independents. Governor Wolf and many Democrats say wonderful things and are charming people with lovely families. But when they sign their names to policy, which is very destructive, Governor Wolf has authorized over 4,000 fracking permits in Pennsylvania, and fracking poisons the future. It's an outstanding example of a dereliction. Environmentalists in general, unions also have big beefs with Governor Wolf. So, do you want things to go to hell fast or go to hell slow? Or do you want to stand up? I want to point out that Abraham Lincoln was a third-party candidate. There were 4 candidates in that election. The only reason that he got elected was because he split the vote. The vote was split. The Democratic Party started as the party to defend slavery by compromise, and in fact was, during the Civil War, the party that wanted to end the Civil War and negotiate a pro-slavery agreement with the South. The Democratic Party, and I've written a history of the Democratic Party, is a party which only until FDR talked about equity. And in fact, FDR's, I could go on and on and on about the Democratic Party, but eventually you got to if your car is stuck in the mud, do you sit in the back seat and gripe? Or do you get out and push? And that's what the Green Party is about. We're poking the Democrats and the Republicans with a stick. And the only thing that keeps the Democrats and Republicans in power is the fear and anger of Democrats and Republicans for one another. We're saying that fear and anger is not a solution, that fear and anger will only retain and magnify the problem, that the Greens are an assertion of solutions.
All right, we're going to leave it there. I want to thank Paul Glover so much for being a guest on the People Power Lunch Hour. Again, you can find more information about his campaign, all of his platform issues, grassroots organizing, environmental work, and more at his website, paulglover.com or .org.
Org for organizer.
Yes, at paulglover.org. Thank you, everyone, for listening and watching to the People Power Lunch Hour show. You can find this episode and all of our past episodes at phillycam.org. You can also find us on our YouTube page. Thanks for watching and listening.